Good morning, class 8 students. Today we are going to see a new chapter of history. Chapter 8, Civilizing the Native and Educating the Nation. Civilizing the Native, Educating the Nation. Last chapters or previous chapters, in the previous chapters you have seen how Rajas, Nawabs, peasants, tribals and all the other sections of our society mainly suffered because of British rule in India. So in this chapter mainly we are focusing what implications British rule had in the life of Indian students. As per the British concept, Indian education was very poor. Quality of Indian education was so poor. And they believed that they came to India not only for acquiring territories and earning enormous profit from Indian societies. They had another mission. That mission, they believed, civilizing Indian people. They needed to civilize India because in India, so many kinds of problems were existing. Many religions, superstitious practices Indian people were following, blind beliefs, child marriage, so many such kinds of problems, and of course, poor quality of education also. British felt that they needed to civilize India, they needed to change India, they needed to transform Indian societies. For that, they need to start from the basic level education. So they thought of providing good quality of education to Indians, for Indians, Western style of science and technology educations. So, but many people of India thought that the British attitude was not for the benefit of Indian people. It was only for destroying the culture, traditions, practices, and beliefs of Indian peoples. They thought that British people were trying to destroy the culture, education, customs, and practices of Indian people. So they reacted. Many Indian people supported British government. Many people reacted against the British government. So let us see here how the British saw education. British thought that education should be very quality and that should be beneficial to the people. But in India, Indian style of education was considered very poor and low quality, and it was not at all beneficial for Indian people. So they thought of providing Western style of education to the Indian people. But many Indian people reacted, many people supported to the British company. Now let's see here the tradition of Orientalism. What is the meaning of the word Orientalism? Orientalism means Eastern, related to Eastern. So in India and other Asian countries, Eastern style of knowledge, Eastern style of education, Eastern culture, everything related to Eastern was only providing, nothing related to West. So a change should be there. And now let's see here what happened. That means Orientalism or tradition of Orientalism. So in 1893, a very famous person, William Jones, came to Calcutta. He was a judge at the Supreme Court, and of course he was a linguist also. He had deep knowledge in several languages: Greek language, Latin, Persian, French, English, Arabic, so many such kinds of languages. He had deep knowledge. And moreover, he tried to learn Sanskrit, grammar, poetry, and he tried to learn Sanskrit, poetry, and grammar also. And moreover, he tried to deeply understand Indian texts on law, philosophy, religion, mathematics, arithmetic, and medicine also. So, William Jones, when he traveled through India, he found the similar interested people. They were Nathaniel Hallett and Thomas Colebrook. All three of them together established Asiatic researchers to study deeply Indian texts, Indian languages. So they studied several Indian ancient texts, and of course, by studying Indian ancient texts, they had a deep respect towards the Indian ancient texts. They claimed that India, they tried to translate all the Indian ancient texts in the English language, and because they believed that while translating into English language, these books will be useful for Europeans, and not only for Europeans, it will be useful for Indians also. because Indian people will be able to understand deeply about their glorious past through these translations. Many Indian people were unable to understand Sanskrit language or any such kinds of old languages. So when these books were translated into English language, the Indian people also would be able to read these all, and they would be able to recognize or recollect about their glorious past. They would be able to know about the past of their nation. And so many, they thought that actually for Indian people, Indian language should be taught, Indian languages should be taught. Then only the Indian people would be able to know about their glorious past and all. With this mission, that means Calcutta Madrasa established and Banaras Hindu College also established for teaching Indians Indian languages and Indian texts. Now let's see here grave errors of the East. But see here, even though William Jones, Thomas Colebrook and Nathaniel Halton, they argued that they claimed that Indian people wanted to be taught Indian languages to know about their past. But many English officials were critical to these kinds of claims. They thought in a different way. They thought that Indian style of education was so poor, and so it won't be any kind of useful for Indian people. That is what we can say, that grave errors of the East. Many British officials argued that Eastern knowledge was full of errors and unscientific thought. And we should see that actually Indian Eastern literature was light-hearted and non-serious. They believed that. And so these must not be taught for Indians. One major critical was actually James Mill. He stated that when we teach something to the people, it should be beneficial to the people. Eastern knowledge was full of errors and unscientific thought, non-serious, light-hearted. It won't be beneficial for the Indian people. That means he told to the English officials, in order to win the heart of Indian people or in order to get their respect, we should not teach them bad. We should teach them useful, something useful. So they should have the knowledge about Western science and technology because it would be useful in their lives. And so James Mill told to the English officials the teaching of Indians English language Indian languages or Indian text should be avoided, and instead English should be taught. Western science and technology should be taught because these will be useful for them. By 1830s, the critical to the Oriental education was so sharp. Thomas Babington Macaulay, another English official, he strongly argued that Eastern education or Oriental education must be stopped and English education must be taught because Indian people would be able to know about glorious Western literatures. They should be able to read glorious Western literatures. He stated that actually that means a single shelf of good European library was worth to the whole native Indian literature and native literature of India and Arabia. And by 1825, as per the request of Thomas Babington Macaulay, an English Education Act was introduced. And as per this act, Calcutta Madrasa closed down, Banaras Hindu College also closed down, and English company decided to teach Indians English education, so that more number of English school, Western style of schools established in India, colleges also established. And the English officials found that Banaras Hindu College and Calcutta Madrasa, these were temples of darkness that were falling off themselves into decay. So let us see in the coming section what happened to the Indian style of education and whether Indian people followed Indian style of education or Western style of education. In this class, today let us discuss three topics. Education for commerce. What happened to the local schools? New routines, new rules. Now let us see here, education for commerce. In 1854, the Court of Directors of the East India Company sent an educational dispatch to the Governor General of India to change the Indian style of education. So this educational dispatch, it was full of educational policy wanted to be practiced in India. Western style of education, the English company or the court of directors of the East India Company decided to follow English style of education in India. Western style of education should be given to Indian people. That finally decided. This educational policy or educational dispatch was formulated by Charles Wood, and so it is officially known as Wood's Dispatch. As per this educational dispatch, Woods suggested that economic benefit will be available for English people by teaching English or Western style of education to Indians. Not only for English people, it would create a lot of changes in Indian also. It would change the moral character of Indian people. Indian people would try to follow British style of living or Western style of living. Their dressing style, living habits, table manners, way of talking, behave, everything will be changed. Their knowledge will increase. They will try to respect English people. They will try to live like English people. They will try to imitate English people. They will try to dress like English people. And to live like English people, they would purchase more and more products of British company. And so, when they purchase more and more products from the British company, it would be beneficial for English company to increase their profit. And moreover, they will develop a respective mentality in their minds towards the British. And so, they would cooperate English company. They would cooperate with the English company and they would allow English company to live in India, to function in India properly. This was the aim of Charles Wood when he prepared Wood's Dispatch. Now let us see here what implications had the local schools when British way of education introduced. So we know that actually William Adam, a Scottish missionary, came to India and he visited Bengal and Bihar to study deeply about the Pathshalas or local schools. He was appointed by the company to study the conditions of Pathshalas and submit a report. He visited the local schools of Bengal and Bihar and he found that there were more than 1 lakh Pathshalas. And in one Pathshala, no more than 20 students, but altogether it would come around 20 lakh students. He found that the education in these Pathshalas education was so flexible. No fixed fee, no fixed seats, no bench chairs, no roll call registers, no fixed timetable, no textbooks. Education was so simple. The topics what need to be taught that the Guru decided. Teaching was there was no separate buildings, no separate classrooms. Mainly education gave under a banyan tree or at the corner of a village shop or temple. And these educational pathshalas were established by wealthy members of the society or community. In this, for all these 20 students, education was given by only one teacher. He was known as Guru, and Guru decided the topic. And sometimes there was a break also, because during harvesting time, children would be able to go for harvest, and after harvesting time only again classes started. And here there is no regular fees, there is no fixed fees, no fixed seat, no regular classes, and also total flexibility was there in these pathshalas. Children were very happy in these pathshalas because classes were in outs classes. There was no classrooms or no separate building, nothing. No benches, no chairs, no blackboards, no textbooks, no roll call registers. Education was so simple in these pathshalas. This was the condition of the education in the pathshalas. William Adam, a reporter, gave such kind of report to the English company. Now let's see here what happened to the pathshalas. New routines, new rules. We can say that actually. In the beginning, English company thought of giving higher education only to the Indian people, and so they never bothered about the pathshalas or education in the pathshalas. Because in the local school, in the pathshalas, only lower the category of education given. That means the subject what need to be taught, Guru decided. And so British government, British company did not interfere in the matter of pathshalas or in the teaching style of pathshalas. But in 1854, British company thought of improving education of Indians. New system want to be introduced. Improvement should be there. New rules want to be created. New discipline want to be created, and also teaching style want to be changed. How they organized all these? How they brought changes in the local pathshalas? British company appointed a number of government teachers, pandits. So these pandits had duty to visit under every pandit 4 or 5 schools or 3 or 4 schools where there are in charge. They need to look after matters in these local pathshalas, and they need to make changes in the teaching pattern in the schools. Each guru want to submit periodic report, and then to teach according to a regular timetable. Earlier there was no timetable, there was no fixed book, there was no textbooks, there was no bench, no chair, no blackboard, no roll call registration, nothing. But now, as per the new improvement introduced by British company, now all the gurus wanted to submit periodic report, and moreover they need to teach as per a regular timetable. There should be fixed fee for the students. Fixed seats should be there, benches and chairs should be there, blackboard should be there, timetable should be there, regular attendance should be there, or roll call registration should be there. All the students should follow the rules, regulations set by the school also. This created some problems for Indian students, because in the earlier pathshala teaching, there was a break during harvesting time. Children would be able to go for harvesting, and after the harvesting time only again classes started. But here that was not possible. Students wanted to regularly attend schools, then only they would get proper education as per the British concept. They should regularly attend, and they should pay fees. There should be uniform, there should be books, there should be benches, chairs, blackboards, and all strict manners should be followed. This created problems for Indian people. So in today's class, let us see that the agenda for a national education. English education has enslaved Indians. Tagore's about a peace. These 3 topics let us see here. So what is the agenda for a national education? Many Indian people thought that British government should live in India. They should bring more changes for Indians. More number of schools, more number of colleges, more number of universities should be opened. Their Western style of teaching should be practiced. Many people believed that English people helped Indian to be modernized. English people should be present here, then only Indian people would be able to get more opportunity to develop. Indian societies would transform. The knowledge of the Indian people would be changed a lot. Many Indian people thought like that. But many Indian people were so critical. They thought that English people were trying to destroy Indian culture, traditions, identity, and of course, Indian language, Indian literature, everything. They believed that actually the Indian people would follow an imaginative or imitative method. A master-slave mentality would develop. Indian people would remain slaves because they would blindly try to follow English people if they followed English education. One of the main criticals of India against the Western style of education was Mahatma Gandhi. He openly believed that he openly stated that English education has enslaved Indians, just like slaves. English education changed the Indian people as slaves under British control, because Western style of education, by installing Western style of education, a master-slave mentality developed. Indian people saw British people as the masters of Indian people, and Indian people were ready to follow them, ready to imitate like them, ready to dress like them, ready to follow their cultures, traditions, way of behavior, way of talking, languages, everything. Indian people were trying to support them, so like slaves. So he strongly argued that Indian people were forgetting their past, forgetting their traditions, forgetting their identity. So because of the installment or establishment of English education in India, Indian identity, Indian people's identity lost. Or our tradition, culture, practices, customs, beliefs, everything was getting destroyed. So he told the people of India that Indian education should be supported. Oriental education, Indian education should be supported. Our culture want to be protected. Education should be always with some kind of work. Learning by doing work. He supported for that. Handicrafts. We should make many products, and we should get knowledge by doing things or by making products. He believed like that. He told the people of India, Western education helped only to know about mass production. But he supported not only mass production, here mass education, people should have, all the production should be produced by the masses or the people. So he strongly criticized Western style of education in India. He believed that Western education enslaved Indian people. And now let's see the attitude of Tagore towards English education. Tagore was also like Mahatma Gandhi. He was also critical towards English education. He believed that a child should not be taught inside the classroom. A child should learn from the nature. A child should be imaginative, creative. He should be or she should be totally free to think. He should be able to desire something. From the nature, he would be able to see a lot of items. He would be able to see, that means trees, plants, hills, birds, animals, so many types of creatures he would be able to see in the nature. And by seeing all these, an imagination would develop, creativity would develop in the minds of the child. He hated the classroom teaching. He believed that teachers should be imaginative. And a curiosity should be there in the minds of the child. Teachers should develop the curiosity of the child. Then only real education would be there. But he was also a supporter of Mahatma Gandhi, but slightly different. He supported Western style of science and technology, but by Indian method. That should be practiced in India by the Indian style, Indian tradition. Without forgetting our culture, traditions or our style, Indian people should learn from the nature along with actually Western style, Western science and technology. But Western style of drill, discipline, inside the classroom, fixed seats, everything he hated. He believed that actually open air or nature related study should be there. Western science and technology also should learn. But at the same time, arts, music, such kinds of education also children should learn. For providing a better education, he established Shanti Niketan, a school in 1901, 100 kilometers away from the Calcutta city. That is, in a remote area he established. Here children, in this institution, children would be totally free to free to imagine, free to develop creativity, free to desire, free to think. This was the idea of Rabindranath Tagore. So the idea of national education, the concept of national education, that's still existing even after independence. Because what type of education want to be followed for Indian people, whether national style or our local Indian style of education or Western style of education. So all of you go through this chapter very thoroughly. All the topics we have discussed, all of you go through these topics. Very important chapter. Many questions will come for the examinations.